California's coastline is collapsing, and it's happening right now. While you've been sleeping, multi-million-dollar homes have crept inches closer to oblivion. Scientists are detecting micro-vibrations in cliffs that signal catastrophic failure. Highway 1 is cracking apart. And what's terrifying isn't just the speed. It's that this isn't a single disaster, but a perfect storm of factors creating the most dangerous coastal crisis in California's history. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you'll understand why experts are calling this the beginning of the end for California's iconic coastline. The alarm bells started ringing in 2026, but few were listening. Along 1,094 miles of California's coastline, something unprecedented was happening. Scientists began recording retreat rates that defied everything they thought they knew. Cliffs pulling back at 2 to 5 centimeters per week, 4 to 10 times faster than historical averages. But the most chilling discovery came from the micro-vibration sensors. These devices, planted deep in cliff faces from San Diego to Santa Cruz, started picking up a low, ominous hum, the sound of rock formations literally shaking themselves apart. Dr. Sarah Thompson from UC Santa Cruz captured the magnitude. The rate of cliff retreat since 2026 is unprecedented. We're seeing centimeters per week in areas that used to take years. The evidence was everywhere. Highway 1 near Half Moon Bay sprouted fresh cracks overnight. A 50-meter section near Big Sur simply vanished in March 2023, swallowing $10 million in repair costs with it. In Dana Point, a seawall protecting 15 homes failed catastrophically, forcing evacuations that turned temporary into permanent. Yet this wasn't random destruction. Drone surveys revealed a pattern of hidden erosion, invisible voids extending 3 meters inland under cliff-top homes, like underground caverns waiting to claim their next victim. Social media exploded with first-hand accounts. One Pacifica resident posted, "Woke up to a new crack in our backyard. We're 20 feet from the cliff edge now, packing essentials just in case." California's coast wasn't just eroding, it was accelerating toward complete structural failure. But what was driving this unprecedented crisis would prove even more terrifying than the collapses themselves. The mechanism destroying California's coast is what scientists call a perfect failure system. 3 catastrophic forces converging with deadly precision. First, record-breaking rainfall. The 2023 season alone dumped 31.5 inches on parts of Southern California, saturating cliff faces composed of soft sedimentary rocks, sandstone, siltstone, and mudstone, materials as stable as wet concrete. Second, relentless wave action amplified by rising sea levels. Global averages show 3.7 millimeters of rise annually, but California's coast faces the double threat of waves reaching 25 feet high during storm surges. These aren't ordinary waves, they're hydraulic hammers, each impact sending thousands of tons of pressure into already weakened cliff bases. Third, and most insidious, is the underground assault. Decades of dam construction cut beaches from their natural sediment supply, stripping away the protective barriers that once absorbed wave energy. Without this buffer, every tide becomes an attack on bare cliff faces. The physics are brutal and beautiful in their simplicity. Water infiltrates microscopic cracks in the rock. Temperature changes cause expansion and contraction. Each wave cycle drives salt water deeper into the stone, and salt crystallization acts like thousands of tiny explosives, fracturing the rock from within. But here's what makes this truly terrifying. The process feeds on itself. Each collapse weakens adjacent areas, creating stress fractures that propagate horizontally through cliff systems. One failure triggers the next, like dominoes made of million-dollar real estate. Are you starting to understand why entire communities are living on borrowed time? Because the human cost of this scientific reality is about to become devastatingly clear. Stay with me. The stories you're about to hear will change how you see this crisis forever. The mathematics of terror are simple in California's coastal communities. Over 300 homes sit at immediate risk, representing $1.5 billion in property values, teetering on the edge of extinction. But numbers don't capture the human reality of watching your life's investment crumble into the Pacific. Every day I check the cliff edge. It's closer now. I don't know how much time we have left here, posted one Pacifica mother on social media. Another resident described the nightmare. Watching the ground disappear under my neighbor's property is like a slow-motion horror movie. The evacuation notices tell the story in stark terms. Since 2026, approximately 1,200 residents in Pacifica and Dana Point have lived under evacuation advisories, not evacuated, but ready to flee at a moment's notice. They wake up each morning wondering if today is the day their cliff gives way. One family in Pacifica experienced the terror firsthand. They evacuated minutes before a 5-meter section of their backyard collapsed during a storm. We grabbed what we could and left. 5 minutes later, half our yard was gone. It's unreal, they told local news. The psychological toll is crushing. An Encinitas property owner captured it perfectly. I hear the ocean louder every night. It's not peaceful anymore. It's terrifying. These aren't vacation homes. These are primary residences where families have invested everything. Children are asking their parents if their house will be there when they come home from school. Parents are sleeping with emergency bags packed, car keys on the nightstand. This isn't disaster preparedness. This is living under siege by the very coastline that once represented the California dream. The scientific consensus is as unanimous as it is terrifying. This is a systemic crisis. Over 70% of our coastline is eroding faster than we can mitigate, announced a California Coastal Commission official during an October 2023 press conference. Dr. Sarah Thompson's team at UC Santa Cruz has documented the unprecedented nature of the threat through seismic monitoring and drone surveys. Their research reveals hidden voids under homes that residents never knew existed, structural compromises invisible from the surface but detected through ground-penetrating radar. A Scripps Institution researcher studying drone survey data explained the immediate danger. People don't realize how close they are to collapse. Our surveys reveal hidden erosion under homes that could fail without warning. Caltrans engineers, responsible for maintaining Highway 1, admit they're fighting a losing battle. Highway 1 is a priority, but every storm sets us back. The cracks are deeper than last year, one engineer reported. Daily drone surveys now monitor the roadway, with temporary closures implemented during storms. First responders have adapted their protocols to this new reality. A Pacifica Fire Department official described their constant vigilance. We're on constant alert. One heavy rain, and we could be pulling people from rubble. The timeline predictions are sobering. Without significant intervention costing over $1 billion in seawalls and relocation programs, geologists warn that entire coastal communities could become uninhabitable within 50 years. The window for action isn't closing. It's already closed for many areas. The acceleration follows a terrifying pattern that's become predictable in its unpredictability. Each winter storm season brings exponential deterioration. What started as millimeters of retreat per month in the early 2020s became centimeters per week by 2026. The escalation isn't linear, it's exponential. A single storm can undo years of expensive mitigation efforts. The March 2023 collapse of Highway 1 near Big Sur demonstrated this brutal reality, where $10 million in recent reinforcements vanished in hours. California Coastal Commission data reveals the geographic spread of acceleration. High-risk zones now include San Diego, Orange County, and the Central Coast, areas previously considered stable. The 85% of California's coastline experiencing active erosion represents a statewide emergency, not isolated incidents. Economic losses follow the same exponential curve. Annual damages have reached $500 million, with potential for exponential growth if current trends continue. Insurance companies are responding by either canceling policies or raising premiums to levels that force homeowners to choose between protection and financial survival. But the most ominous aspect of this escalation is its self-perpetuating nature. Each collapse creates additional stress on adjacent areas, spreading instability like an infection through the coastline. The process has reached a tipping point where human intervention may no longer be able to stop the cascade. Governor Newsom's recent request for $50 million in emergency funding represents acknowledgement that this crisis has moved beyond routine maintenance into catastrophic response mode. The question isn't whether more collapses will occur, it's how many and how soon. Stay with me, because understanding the historical precedent for this disaster reveals why experts are so terrified about what's coming next. California's coast has collapsed before, but never like this. The El Niño winter of 1982-83 stands as the benchmark for storm-driven destruction, causing $100 million in damages when adjusted for current dollars. But that disaster pales compared to what's happening now. The 1956 Portuguese Bend landslide destroyed over 150 homes, creating a cautionary tale that planners ignored. The 1995 Pacifica cliff collapse killed one person and injured multiple others, offering a preview of the human cost when coastal engineering fails. But these historical events were isolated incidents triggered by specific weather patterns. What's happening since 2026 represents something unprecedented, sustained, accelerating deterioration across the entire coastline simultaneously. The current crisis makes the 1982-83 disasters look like minor episodes. The threat level today operates on multiple timescales, each more dangerous than the last. Immediate dangers include Highway 1 segments showing fresh cracks daily, monitored by Caltrans crews who've shifted from routine maintenance to emergency response. Real-time social media posts capture the daily deterioration. Recent posts from Santa Cruz show a 10-foot cliff drop overnight after rainfall. Half Moon Bay residents document new cracks appearing along coastal roads, with Caltrans on site but offering no timeline for permanent repairs. The National Weather Service's late October forecasts predict another 5 to 10 inches of rainfall, potentially triggering the next wave of catastrophic failures. A small landslide in La Jolla damaged coastal trails, demonstrating how even minor events now carry major consequences. What makes the current threat level so dangerous is the compression of warning time. Where historical collapses offered weeks or months of visible deterioration, the current crisis produces sudden failures with minutes of warning, if any. Are we witnessing the beginning of California's coastal apocalypse? The scenarios ahead range from catastrophic to civilization-changing. Conservative projections suggest that without massive intervention, up to 70% of California's beaches could disappear by 2100. But acceleration patterns indicate this timeline may be drastically compressed. Worst-case scenarios involve simultaneous failures across multiple coastal segments, overwhelming emergency response capabilities. The potential loss of Highway 1 would isolate entire communities, cutting off not just transportation but emergency access when the next collapses occur. Economic modeling predicts coastal living costs could increase fivefold by 2050 due to perpetual beach nourishment and infrastructure repairs. Property values face potential total collapse in high-risk zones, creating a real estate crisis that could cascade through California's economy. The tourism impact alone could devastate the state budget. Coastal areas generate $40 billion annually, but visitor spending depends on beaches that may simply cease to exist. International tourists don't visit California to see seawalls and evacuation zones, but the most terrifying scenario involves cascading failures during a major storm event. If multiple cliff systems fail simultaneously, rescue operations could prove impossible, trapping residents between collapsed roads and an advancing ocean. Climate scientists warn that current sea level rise projections may be conservative, potentially accelerating the entire timeline by decades rather than years. The most chilling aspect of California's coastal crisis is its permanence. Unlike earthquakes or wildfires, coastal erosion doesn't end, it accelerates. Every tide cycle, every storm, every winter brings cumulative damage that builds toward the next catastrophic failure. The $150 million allocated since 2026 for erosion mitigation represents a fraction of what's needed. Engineering solutions like seawalls create their own problems, accelerating beach loss and transferring erosion pressure to adjacent properties. Nature-based solutions require decades to establish, time California's coast doesn't have. The political reality compounds the physical crisis. Managed retreat, the planned relocation of communities away from vulnerable coastlines, faces massive opposition from property owners who've invested everything in coastal real estate. The state has both no time and too much time to act, spiraling into paralyzing battles over why, who, when, and how. Meanwhile, the micro vibrations continue. The cracks widen. The retreats accelerate. Recent social media posts reveal growing desperation. Environmental activists tweet, "Climate change is eating our coastline. We need action, not just studies." But studies continue while the cliffs crumble. The ocean doesn't negotiate. It doesn't pause for funding debates or environmental impact reports. It simply continues its relentless advance, claiming California's coastline centimeter by centimeter, storm by storm, collapse by collapse. And tonight, while California sleeps, the process continues. This isn't a disaster that happened. It's a disaster that's happening. Right now, as you watch this, California's coastline retreats another fraction of an inch toward multi-million-dollar homes. The question isn't if the next collapse will occur, but when you'll see the breaking news alert. Subscribe and hit the notification bell, because this story is far from over.